I see you bobbing along to that. Dan,
Amazing,
how much better?
amazing.
I don't want to keep banging on about, but how much better is that new intro music you debuted this week? Hello, good evening.
So good. I'm literally doing the old two-step shuffle under the table. That's so good. I love it.
Hello and good evening. Welcome, good morning, whatever time you're listening back or watching back to Online Darts, the Fallout Bar. Myself, Jack Gobby Garwood, once again joined with yet a different member of the team tonight. I'm not sure I've doubled up with anybody this week so far. It is Mr. Dan Simpson. Thanks for joining us, Dan. How are we?
Very well, thank you, mate. Very good. Excited about and the tournament is just starting to get into the interesting part. I will be heading to Blackpool myself tomorrow, so I will be at the Matchplay. Really interesting night tonight. Good night of darts, some amazing darts, and some boring darts as well. Up and down night, I would say. But good, yeah, happy to be along. I've done a few of the streams lately, but I think this is my first Fallout Bar for some time, so nice to be along with you, mate.
Yeah, I think so. The last time we ran the Fallout Bar was for the Premier League, and it felt like myself and Cam pretty much most weeks, but it's great to have you back. I'm a little bit gutted, actually, because I will be in Blackpool on Friday about 2:00 in the afternoon, but I suspect you'll be gone by then, and I'll have had a few cans on the way up as well. If I wasn't paying for the minibus, I'd have looked at the ways to get up there Thursday night and have that spare ticket off you. But instead, I'm going to have to travel Friday morning.
Well, see, I'm putting an advert out now, Scott. So, folks in the chat room, people watching live, I'm going to the Matchplay Darts tomorrow, and sat next to me on the balcony is a spare seat. If you fancy a night out at the darts tomorrow, I am on Twitter at Dan Simpson 180. Feel free to drop me a message. There is an empty seat next to me tomorrow in Blackpool, and I will more than happily sit and talk darts with somebody and have a couple of pints. So feel free, if you fancy it, get in touch.
Only a couple of pints, Dan. You disappoint me, man.
Well, I didn't want to go too deep publicly.
You don't want to put people off already.
My plans for the evening tomorrow, yeah, but there might be more than a couple. It could end up, messy with tequilas and all sorts.
And late night after parties sourced by our friend Mr. Lee Boyce as well. You'd have to make a trip to Trilogy, indeed.
The after party is looking very, very exciting tomorrow.
Yes. Right, let's just say hello to a few people in the chat room. The chat room's busy already tonight. Liam made a bit of a joke earlier, going early start tonight. Boys, yeah, it was nearly midnight by the time we got underway yesterday. We saved ourselves about 20, 25 minutes. Someone called Dan's in there. So the evening folks will be live shortly. Yeah, cheers for that, mate. You're doing my job. Dan Syson is in as well. Stephen is in. Marco, Rose, Adam Hinchcliffe is in, watching from the USA. Thanks for joining us, buddy. Who else do we have in the chat room? Liam is in from the team. Colin is in, saying hello to everybody, as is Craig. Were you in the venue again tonight, Craig? How hot was it this evening? Luckily, the temperature seems to be dropping, but I had local league darts myself tonight, and I honestly think my venue was even warmer than the Winter Gardens. It was...
Oh, that takes something at the minute.
Yeah. Well, last night I messaged Lee and go, good luck with the heat tonight, buddy, thinking that everywhere was the same. And Blackpool had dropped to 23 degrees before play got underway last night. It was still nearly 40 where I live at that point.
Wow.
Overnight, when I finished recording last night at midnight, it was 28 degrees in Nottingham still.
I think now the match play brings the sun. Like, I remember last year being in Blackpool for the match play and phoning my wife and when I was there and just saying, it's the hottest I've ever been in England. Like the hottest I've ever been. I remember stood outside waiting to go inside and think I've never been this hot in England before ever. That was last year. Obviously, this year again we've had the heat wave. It just seems that the match play brings the sun every year.
I'm pretty sure it rained the other year, the one night I managed to get up there, and you can guarantee the one week I actually finally make it to Blackpool the entire week. We've been trying to do it for 4 or 5 years now since I started on the Ocky with Jar and Duffy. I went up for a night with them boys, went up for one night a couple of years later, and I've not been back up since. I guarantee it's going to piss it down all week. The 1 week I managed to get up to Blackpool, so I apologise. In fact, I'm there this weekend for a stag do starting Friday, and I'm pretty sure the weather forecast for the 3 days is rain.
Well, that'll be a pleasant drive over the A66 home for me then.
Yes, indeed for you. Robbie's in. Good to see you, buddy. Managed to catch us live. Yeah, shouldn't you be asleep? You got a bus to drive in the morning. Marco says, big day for Dutch, bad day for English. Last 16 had 6 English and 3 Dutch. Last 8 got 3 Dutch and 1 English. Only Aspinall. Jeez. Big night indeed. Big swing if you are a Dutch darts fan. However, let's just dive straight in to the action then, Dan. And I'm going to be honest, I'm going to rely on you an awful lot tonight. If I've missed any key points, just shout them out, because I have been playing darts myself tonight, but no one else was available to host the show. So I had a little bit of TalkSport 2 on throughout the evening as much as I could. But then the rest of the team took over and wanted to play dance anthems and songs because of the heat while we were playing darts. So I think I lost out on that regard, and I've missed an awful lot. I've seen the last 7 or 8 legs of the Smith Dirt game from 5-3, I think it was. So I'd already missed the interesting bit at that point.
Yeah, I was going to say, you missed the good bit after that.
Yeah. But at this point, we go back to the start of the night and an incredibly, what looks like a one-sided affair. This is one of the games I did manage to catch on TalkSport. Once again, the story of the match is Danny Noppert's superb finishing. The man just looks so comfortable up on a big stage, destroying Daryl Gurney 11-4.
It did. It got off to a quite a really exciting start. So I was really up for it. I was really up for this game. I had quite a lot of confidence in both guys. I've really sort of been on the up with Daryl Gurney just lately. I just think he's looked quite good, and I think he's and we know he's got the game. And I felt like he was just bringing something a little bit interesting this time. And when both came out, first couple of legs, they both looked great. And I thought, like, we are in for an absolute slobber knocker of a match. It's going to be amazing. And then Gurney missed 3 darts to break in the third leg. And after that, he just dropped. I'm pretty sure, from memory, I think he did 3. He missed 3 darts to break. And then when he didn't break, Noppert took 5 on the bounce straight after that. And it was just too far after that. It was just too far away. And every time Gurney looked like he was going to start to get back into it, like Noppert just did something. Like, he did some incredible things during that game. The 1-3-2 was amazing on the bull. Like, took 1-3-2 out on the bull. The blind 180. Again, amazing. And to be honest, that leg was to go 7-3 up. He took a blind 180 and followed it up by checking out on the bull. And that at that point at 7-3, I just thought, like, all hope of a comeback is gone, because you've allowed Danny Noppert to slip into this rhythm where he's finishing so well. There's such a huge distance, and Gurney just didn't come near it. By the time he got to 10-3, he's checking out a ton again for the 103, and it was just a very, very top-notch performance, really, to be completely fair. Danny Noppert, over the course of the day, he averaged 102, but there was 8 visits he had that were treble-less visits, and over the course of a game that long is just superb. He never let Gurney get close. 4-ton plus finishes from Noppert, really, really good stuff. I have been a bit of a critic of him in the past. I think he's a bit up and down. I think he struggles with consistency, but when he's on, he's on. And Daryl Gurney is, Daryl Gurney is 2-time semi-finalist in the Winter Gardens. He's done, he knows that venue, and he's played well in that venue, and he's had some big comebacks in that venue as well. But it was just never getting a look in today. He wasn't getting close to Noppert.
He was indeed. Noppy, for me, is a player who finds his A game a lot more regularly than he was, say, 2-3 years ago. And his B game has improved at the same time. And that combination is making him so solid. And I guess that you don't really see him start to run away with matches, or it's less and less memorable because he's not the most outgoing. He's not the most extrinsic. He doesn't let you know how he's feeling an awful lot. No, is a show of emotion we don't tend to see from Danny Noppert, but because he's not that extrinsic character that is bold up on the stage and you see an awful lot from him, he tends to go under the radar an awful lot, but he is seriously quality at the minute.
And that's it. And you hit the nail on the head there. And that it becomes more evident in a match like tonight against somebody like Daryl Gurney, who's such a presence on stage, and he's a bigger presence on a big stage in a big venue. And I think that game turned completely leg 3. Like and I thought that game was going all the way tonight. Right before the game started, I thought we're going right the way through, and we could end up, extra time, and we'll end up 11-all, 12-all, and I do think the whole trajectory of the game spun. Leg 3 missed break darts by Gurney, and Gurney just couldn't get back in, and Knockert was so clinical that at the level that Gurney would have had to reach, even to make those competitive, to hold his throw, never mind to make some breaks as well. He just couldn't quite hit that level.
Yeah, he couldn't indeed. That clinicalness from Danny in the numbers as we look at it, 61% on the doubles, 11 from 18, including 4 ton plus checkouts to add to his 5 maximums, 11 140s and 18 tons, adds up to 102.36 average for the Freeze, who was absolutely superb as he moves in to the quarterfinal and goes in hunt for his second PDC major title this year. How interesting would that be, knowing that the Premier League field will remain at just 8 players heading into the January of 2023? I know I moaned last night when I mentioned the Premier League, but if Danny Knockert goes and wins his second TV major of the year, it'd be incredibly difficult to leave him out.
The list is going to, and I think we know the list is going to keep increasing, of people who in that calendar year have won a major and not made the Premier League. It's a very, very different discussion when someone's won 2, isn't it?
Very different. Very different indeed, especially when you've got players like Luke Humphreys picking up Euro tours here, there and everywhere. Joe Cullen won the Masters but has already been in now, so he needs to back it up with the rest of the year. Nathan Aspinall mentioned the Premier League yesterday in his post-match press conference. You've got your regulars, you've got your top 4 in the world that are guaranteed under whatever rules you've got. So Michael Smith, Van Gerwen, lots of work to be done. Price defending an awful lot of money, as is Peter Wright with a world.
No.
Who's world? Gezzy's defending the world championship money.
Yeah.
A lot of money defending for him.
Spending a lot of money this year.
That race for the top 4, if you're not going to win one of the big boys this year, is incredibly important now for the rest of the chasing field. Right, let's then hear from Danny Knockert himself in his post-match press conference.
He does a blind shot as well, and afterwards I did it, but it's 1 out of 10. It's in, but Of course, you're dreaming, but I'm watching game by game and not dreaming about this title. But when I'm in the final, of course, then I'm dreaming. But not now at the moment. I'm watching game by game.
The professional response, as ever, from these guys. No, I'm not looking all the way ahead. I don't think I'm going to do it. Unless your name's Peter Wright, who just says he's going to win titles whenever he fancies it. Going game on game. Any comments from this match that we've missed? Jamie says Knockert reaches the final, I think. Danny apologised for not speaking great English on Sky. I shouldn't worry, to be honest. I think he finds it a little bit awkward to know what to say sometimes. I had the pleasure of interviewing him in Amsterdam for the World Series, and it wasn't the most comfortable interview I or he have ever conducted, especially as he's just done 5 or 6 in Dutch. He was much, much better at that. So look, when it's second language, you're always going to give the guys the necessary.
He's far better in English than I am in Dutch, so I'll forgive him every time on that.
Massively. As was Jose de Sousa. Jose de Sousa, I think his English is getting much, much better.
It's getting far. I noticed tonight the difference in 12 months between, and I know he spent a lot of time over here, but the difference in 12 months between the way he's able to come across in an interview for de Sousa is vast. And I just think that'll only be a good thing in terms of the way he's viewed by viewers on the television, the casual viewer that's watching on Sky, the connection he can make with people. We know he's a bit of a character and he's a good lad. The more that he becomes much more fluid with his English, that's just going to kick on, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is. I'll speak about Jose, even though we'll speak about him in a minute. In terms of that interview, because he's not been in the limelight as much for the last couple of years, or for the last year or so, the improvement he's made since the last time we really heard him sit down and have an interview to now is vast. Whereas if he's winning tournaments left, right, and centre, and you're only seeing the gradual improvements, when you see that big jump, I suppose that's when you notice it that little bit more. But like you said,
definitely.
It's brilliant that these guys are taking it on board. It does make them more attractive for sponsors and commercial opportunities and whatever else. So, yeah, superb from those guys. Speaking of Jose de Salza, it's like we planned that. He beats Rob Cross 11-8 as both players average 103. Rob Cross actually finishing with the higher average in this one and the better double percentage, but it is the Portuguese man who scores that gets over the line 11-8. This is one that I haven't seen an awful lot about, Dan, so I'm going to lean on you, but it looks like an absolute belter.
It is, and it was, and exactly like you talk about the numbers there. Like the maths doesn't make sense almost, like because you'll generally find in a game of darts that somebody will pip the other on the scoring, but the other one will have the doubles or someone, and or vice versa. And it's really weird because if you just look at the statistics of that game, in theory, Rob Cross wins everything. He was the better player in that game. And the only way I can describe it in the way that I felt the game went is that, yes, over the course of the game, Rob Cross has averaged higher and his doubles percentage is higher. But he's done that in peaks and troughs, in that he's done it, first of all, he's done a lot of it on his own leg, so which isn't winning the match. So he's done a lot of that high scoring came on his own leg, just the way things went. And the same with his doubles, but he went through peaks and troughs. He had really good spells and then spells where he completely switched off. And then he had the bit where I think personally the game swung because we were very, very close to a level game. The Sousa come out flying, absolutely flying. Cross started to pick things up, looked like he was going to level it. Rob Cross threw. He threw a 10-dart leg for 6-4 to pull back to 6-4. And at that point, I mean, he had 6 perfect darts, and one of 3 occasions tonight where we had a decent chance at a 9, and he obviously didn't quite get it, but he wrapped it up in 10. And at that point, watching, I thought this is where it swings, and this is where, and I suppose there's a bit of humbleness from me at this point. I picked Bob Cross to do a semi. I had a lot of confidence in Rob Cross this tournament to go quite deep and do quite well. And I thought that the form that Jose had shown of late, in the last 12 months or so, it just seemed like one was a bit stagnant and Rob Cross was on the up. But Jose just seemed to, it was just that consistency of scoring. The amount of, and I don't know the statistics in terms of where that sits in, against loads of other games, but the amount of times that he hit a max on his first visit was ridiculous. Like he wasn't finding back-to-back 180s. He wasn't throwing them in randomly, 2 visits into a hold or when he was far behind on trying to break cross. He was setting off on legs, relentlessly just pumping 180 on his set off. Just consistency is all it was. Rob Cross played very well, but he peaked and troughed and went up and down. Jose just held a level and was really good.
Yeah, 2 things I've seen about this match on social media tonight. One, I guess, is the slow start from Rob Cross, because I saw one comment going on, maybe actually that comeback from Cross was a flash in the pan. He looks well off it. Obviously, from what we've just heard and spoken about, he did settle and get a lot better in the game. And the other one, I cannot remember who tweeted it, so I really do apologise for not giving you credit for this if you are listening. But I saw a stat attaining to Jose de Salza's opening visit, as you just alluded to. His average for his first 3 darts in every single leg for this match was 130.33.
Which is completely absurd, isn't it? Like it's.
I don't know where that's against the pro. So you're putting your opponent under it immediately on their own throw if they're not going off ton 40 or better every single time. And there's just no, here you go, there's a chance on my throw here. I've just opened the door with a 60 or with an 85, go and bang in a big ton. There's just none of that. And when Rob Cross is chasing in the game, that's ridiculous.
And that's how Rob Cross managed to post those numbers and not win, because he was always up against it in every leg, because he was having to play at that level just to compete, and the consistency of Jose just came through, and that's one of the things that, like, Jose's always been. He's a character of darts, isn't he? And he turns it on, and he does outrageous things. I will never forget. He gave me one of my most fun darting memories ever. Was the first night that we were allowed back after the nonsense and COVID, and we got to the Premier League in Milton Keynes with loads of rules and everything else, and he took out 120 with 3 tops, and it was just like, I was on the front row for it, and it was like, I'll never be able to thank that man enough for having been robbed of live darts for so long. The first night back he gives me that, but he's always been so up and he is up and down, and he has moments of absolute brilliance, and then he has calamitous, miscounts and cock-ups and everything else, and it was good. It was great to see just a very, very consistent professional performance from Jose de Sousa. It was great.
Yeah, a few in the chat room digging us out a little bit. Not you, but Phil Barr's really motivated Jose to perform. I've seen that comment a couple of times. And there was another one about, it looks like Jose can play in front of a crowd then. Yeah, look, a lot of his success has been behind closed doors, and he's not been the best since crowds returned, apart from that moment Dan just mentioned with tops, which I guess, look, when you're seeing somebody on Shanghai and they put the first dart in the treble, you get a little bit excited that it might go. But with that tops, it's the, hang on a minute, where's that first dart gone? The realization what he's about to attempt. Then the second dart goes in and you're like, you crazy son of a gun.
It's a very, honestly, very special moment in the room. And I was very, very lucky. First night back after COVID, I was literally on the front row. Very lucky to be able to, and honestly, it was a gift that Jose de Sousa gave. I think there was 1,000 people allowed in the venue that night. That was it, and it was a much needed gift that he presented Planet Darts that night, and I will forever be thankful to him for it.
Indeed. Right, let's hear from the special one in his post-match press conference.
Well, I can't say that. It's too early. But if I play that way, maybe it's possible. Yeah, we have a chance to win the World Matchplay. Not at all, no. I came here, first of all, to win the first round. Was my first reason in this World Matchplay. Win the second round, it's amazing. It's amazing because I don't expect that. Actually, I'm a little bit surprised with my performance, but my work hard show to everybody I can make that performance and maybe something better.
Still so humble, isn't he? It reminds me a little bit of Mensur Suljovic. Remember Mensur went berserk in the Champions League, and you're like, Mensur, do you think you can win this again now? No. Mensur, you've gone back to back finals. How do you feel? I didn't win it. Mensur, you've just won it. No. Jose reminds me of that. No matter what you tell him, no matter how great he's going to be playing, I don't think he's ever going to sit there and tell you, I'm going to win this.
No, absolutely not. And that is arguably why he is such a likable character.
Indeed. Right, let's move on to match number 3, and from a very, very likable character to one that can sometimes be a bit questionable. Gerwen Price, the world number 2.
That reception tonight was just frosty to say the least. Like it was rough. Now, what you've got 2 elements. Is that in a crowd like that, first of all, there is let's boo Gezi Price, because that's just what we do, because we're a big darts crowd. But there is also, like, first of all, an Englishman playing a Welshman in England. You've also got the let's cheer for the underdog. So I think there was like 3 layers of why Gezi was getting it and Chizzy was getting all of the praise and all the positive stuff. And at different times in the matches, I don't think, to be completely honest, if I'm really honest, I don't think the crowd had much an effect on this game at all, on either player. I just don't think that was it, which is rare on a night like this in the match play, when it's hot in Blackpool, but I don't think it did. I think it was superb in moments this game. And there were, just as a darts fan, things that get you excited will first of all be Gezi Price taking out 161 in the opening leg. Like that, when, to kick the match off, just as you're settling in and thinking, this is what's it going to be like here? Bang, 161. Oh, right, okay. It's going to be like that, is it? And then, I didn't know, and it's something you try and keep up with dart statistics and other bits and pieces. I didn't know that going into this game tonight, Dave Chisnell was the best holder of legs in the PDC of tour cards.
Me neither. The only stat I know about this quarter of the draw was that in their last 50 games, Gerwen Price had won the least of anybody in this section, with Dave Chisnell winning the most. Gerwen Price had won something like 26 of his last 50 games. He was only just above 50% coming into this event in his last 50. Chizzy was the standout from that. But look, I think that World Cup has just rejuvenated Gezi a little bit. It didn't kickstart him into world number one and dominating territory, but it's just giving him that little bit of a spark on the comeback that he's needed from his wrist injury, from managing his schedule, to just launch into now being at the back end of these tournaments instead of the early upsets.
He seemed to go through stages today. I mean, he as I say, 161 to start off. You immediately think, well, Gezi could go completely bonkers here, and he could kick on from that. But he didn't. Gezi got 2-1 ahead, and Chisnell held and then broke, and went into the first. They went into the first break with Chisnell 3-2 up, so that 161 out where you thought Gezi could go really kick on didn't quite happen. And then for me watching it looked like Price was trying to sort of artificially get a Gerwen Price roll going, because we had a bit of crack in the WhatsApp group because he started sort of flexing and doing his sort of half set, but he wasn't. You could see his heart wasn't in it. He was doing double bicep flexes, but you could see it wasn't quite on his face. After on his second visit, he pinged double 10 to hold, but that seemed to turn into bigger and bigger and bigger moments where he started to kick on. Now again, another just key moments where the game swung. Chisnell missed 81 to go 7-3 up, and 7-3 is really big when you can hold like Dave Chisnell can, and when you play the way that Chisnell was playing at that point up till 7-3, and there's been a lot of mention of it. There has been a lot of mention of it in this tournament just by the commentators, of a big score on the board, and that once you get 7-3, yes, it might only be a couple of breaks, and yet but it's in front of you constantly. You can see how far behind, and the pressure comes on.
It's a double break in either direction, isn't it? And if you won the bullseye, they need 3 breaks at that point. That's a massive, massive task when your man's only 4 legs away from winning the match.
And then it looked again. The game swung. The game just kept swinging backwards and forwards in that early part of the game. Price broke to pull it back to 6-all, and then this is getting very interesting. Then he held, and then that 164. So Gerwen Price hit the 164, pulled him up to 8-6, and at that point I sort of thought, all right, yeah, we've gone. That's it now. That's the game's gone that way. And then bizarrely, the Chisnell then not bizarrely because he's a good player, but Chisnell hit a 142, and then I'm thinking this is just escalating to an absurd level, but it just was by the end. Gerwen Price went. So it's a bit of a cliche, but went through the gears. Dave Chisnell started very well and played at a really good level through the game and just maintained it. Price, yes, he had that leg at the beginning that was outrageous, but Price didn't quite get into it as quickly as Chisnell did. He went to the first break behind, just seemed to go through the gears, and by the end of the game was playing his A game properly. And Gerwen Price playing his A game, throwing at the level that he can, is a very, very hard player to beat. And that was it by the end. He'd just gone through the gears and away we were. But we had another very, very, very close to 9 data again. We had another, but interestingly enough, so this was the second one, and this was the same as Rob Cross earlier today, is we've had another player that's hit 6 180s, then come back to the hockey and decided to not go for the 180, go for the treble 19 and missed. And try that way around. And I, me personally, I think there's a case for if you've hit 6 180s, maybe go for the 180 because you're in a bit of a pattern. But they both tried to work their way around the other way, and they've slit, and then they've had a go for the treble 19, and it's not worked. Second time tonight, that.
It goes a little bit closer third time, but we'll talk about that one in a minute. Let's hear from the Iceman, Gerwen Price, or as John Part affectionately wants him to be now known, the Volcano, in his post-match press conference.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, if you don't doubt yourself when your back's against the wall, then you're not human. I think every dart player does, every football player, every sports person. When things then go into plan, you always doubt yourself. But yeah, I would come back out fighting, and I'm not at my best yet, but I'll be back. I know, my wife showed me that. He's actually a bit skinnier than me, so no, it's not me.
Who's the best look like ever?
Honestly, I had to look twice myself. It's like I don't even play golf, but possibly, I don't know. Yeah, it actually does look like both of us.
Yeah, talking about the Gezi and Fallon lookalike at driving range of the week that ends terribly as well. Where on earth that clip has surfaced from, I do not know, but it looks a spit of both of those players. It's a little bit scary. A few more hellos in the chat room. Jesus Ventures in. He says, what performance by Noppy Gobby? Indeed, we'll talk about that very, very soon. Indeed. Barzy's in the background as well. He's just piped up saying hi, everyone, in the chat room. Can see him doing some jazz hands in our software. Tommy Tornado's in as well, as is Nico. But let's move on and talk about our fourth game. Before we do so, quick reminder of a couple of things. Live League returned this morning, Champion of Champions week, and it's back again tomorrow morning, but it'll be an evening session tomorrow night as well, so you'll have a choice, or you'll have to leave that alone for a couple of minutes to watch and listen to us for the Fallout Bar, and then jump back in to the Live League. And once we've spoken about this final game, we'll do predictions for the two quarterfinals tomorrow evening. So don't forget to get involved in the chat room and get your predictions in there as well. However, Dan, final match of the evening, the superb contest, this one. But much like, I think, the story of a couple of the matches, Danny Noppert, Daryl Gurney, and Jose de Souza, Rob Cross, that opening session was absolutely terrible for Mark Cliff. He was 20 points down on the averages, 85 to Dirk van Dijvenbode's 105, and he just left himself too much to do by the end of it. Yeah,
too little, too late, and he got away with it against Gilding because he's a better dart player, and he had enough time that once he hit close to his level of play, he could win the games. But there was moments. It wasn't even just his own play today. It was. I do think there was a bit of psychology involved as well, because there was just some things that probably came at the wrong time for Michael Smith, and definitely the right time for DVD. So, the double. First of all, the double break. So quickly getting, and it went fast. Those were quick. They both play very fast and very, very quickly. 3-0 down, but 3-0 down with a double break. And then for the 4-0 was the finish. 4-0, 170, bang, bang, bang. And if you're Michael Smith at that point, first of all, you're a double breakdown. So you're immediately thinking, I'm gonna have to win an awful lot of legs here. I'm gonna have to win them on the spin to get back in. But then just the sort of scoreboard anxiety of this is where I'm at and I know I need another break. Then your opponent hits a 170. You're at that point where you're thinking, can I have to do this against a player playing at this level? And I just don't think he ever got close enough. I
guess the pace of both as well just means it can be taken away from you so quickly. Like there's not an awful time to comprehend what's going on and reset yourself. And Smith isn't a player that can play slowly. We saw that against Andrew Gill and it frustrated him. He's not a player that's going to think, right, I just need to reset here for a couple of legs. I just need to drop it back down, give myself time to find that range and try and disrupt Dirk a bit. He's just going to keep going and going and going and hoping that he finds the top of that treble bed before and more frequently than Dirk does to get him back in the game. That's his only response. It's like going long in football. He doesn't have a plan B.
Yeah, and what I think happened was his first hold came along, you know, at the time, like looking back when I was watching it, his first hold came at the perfect. Well, if you're 4-0 down, like a hold, any hold is a perfect time, isn't it? Like anything. But he got that hold going into the break, and I thought, well, that will do, because he's such a fast player and he doesn't give himself time to sort of process things. I thought, well, that's probably really good, because won a leg, go into the break, come out after the break, and looked like Michael Smith again. I thought, this is getting really competitive. And then missed tops for 5-all. And so that second session after the first break, Michael Smith played really well and looked like the better player for that window. There was that window of 5 legs. Michael Smith looked like by far the better player. And he looked for all the world like he was going to level it up, and missed tops for 5-all. And then, you know, Dirk comes back, 80 required, takes them out, 6-4 up, and then again, it's another breakaway, and Michael's further away, having missed his favourite double, having had, you know, with Dirk playing the way he was doing. There is another 9 shout, like, you know, and this is the closest of the night. Michael Smith was just inside double 12 for a 9. Went different way to everybody else tonight, and managed to get those extra 2 darts in through towards the 9 darter. He was very, very close, but just beaten by somebody that played better darts than him tonight. You know, I have often not been a particular, I don't want to say I'm a particular fan of him, but, you know, I have been a bit of a critic of Dirk van Dijvenbode for loads of different reasons. But tonight, he was the better man, and he was the better dart player in that game. Simple as
Hypothetically, if that's 5-all at the second set, are we talking about a different result tonight? Was that leg that crucial at that point?
I think, yeah, that game completely turned on that missed double tops. Yeah, because Michael Smith coming out of the break at 5-all I just think is a completely different animal, completely different person altogether. And I do think, you know, there's a bit of, it's about the breaks, it's about the times the breaks come. I think tonight that in that match alone, the first break came at the perfect time, because it came after Michael Smith had got his first leg on the board, allowed him a couple of minutes just to reset, refocus, come out, and then got built up a bit of a head of steam. The second break came at probably the worst possible time, because it came just after him missing that tops for 5-all, then being broken when Dirk came back for the 80. And I think the second break came at the wrong time for him. But going in at 5-all, you know, if I'd have had my 50 pence to put, I'd have backed Smith all day long at that point.
Just looked like the tide had turned a bit, but I guess that the difference between 5-all and 6-4 is you go off at 5-all, you think you've just absolutely pickpocketed Dirk. Dirk goes off, but the reaction we saw from Dirk to go in at 6-4 as well, he knew how big that was, and it just meant that Smith was, again, constantly chasing. And I think this is why people like James Wade, look, not this season, but why he's such a well-revered match play player, because he can just go in both directions. He can chase constantly and not give up, but his own throw, you never really see him lose it an awful amount of time.
It's also such a, in terms of the draw and the bracket, certainly that side of the draw, it's a huge spanner, you know, well, no, I suppose it's quite an exciting mix-up to have Michael Smith out at this stage, because that is wide open now.
It is. Just the one non-seed remaining in the entire draw, by the way, which is Nathan Asthma. Right, let's hear from our final winner this evening, Dirk van Dijvenbode, who defeated Michael Smith to set up a quarter-final clash with his World Cup of Darts teammate, Danny Noppert.
Yeah, frustrated and lucky, because she didn't beat a great Michael Smith. But I'll take the win, and got a day off. You need to prepare for the quarters. You need to be ready.
Just on what you said there, is it important to you to beat the best version of the player you're playing instead of just the win then?
For me, it's more important that I play well than I win. For myself. Because I think if I play well, eventually results will come. I will win the majors. But you won't win them with a 93 average. So only one. I can hit 100 average every game. If I hit a 93, I just feel disappointed.
Brutally harsh on himself from Dirk there, but I guess that shows that the level that he's aspiring to and wants to attain, and that people know is possible in this sport.
He sounds like another Dutchman, doesn't he?
Yeah, I wonder which one he's been hanging around with this.
Yeah, at this point, his interview there very much reminded me of another Dutchman.
Indeed. Right, let's look ahead to tomorrow evening's session, and just the two games, significantly longer in legs required to get over the line. No, chatroom, this is your chance to get involved as well. And if you are listening back or watching back, head over to YouTube and drop in the comment section who you think is going to win each of these matches. We start tomorrow night with not that one. Peter Wright against Dimitri Vandenberg. Oh, that's tasty. And I'm a little bit surprised this one is going on first, to be honest. This would have been choice for second. I appreciate the Dutch fans and the markets and the prime time and whatever for Van Gerwen. But given how these two have played so far, this back storyline that they've met in the last 3 match plays, the house guest over COVID, etc.
Yeah, I've not quite taught him everything. The Jedi Master and the Padawan. There's a big story in there.
This just writes itself, and this is why I get so infuriated with World Series and Premier League and all of the commercial decisions made, and then you look at draws that are perhaps put in a certain way for the Premier League when players were kept apart because it's a non-ranked event. They can do that, etc. You don't need to go forcing and creating these narratives. They'll do it themselves. This is an incredible storyline. The fact that they're here to do it again. They met in the final last year. Chance for Dimmy to get revenge once more, defending his prize money this time, not just defending the title, which actually probably means a little bit more. Going back to back in a title, yeah, brilliant. But that just adds more money to your ranking. It doesn't defend the massive chunk that's about to fall off. And that's probably more important to Dimitri Vandenberg than picking up the title back-to-back times. So just the storyline is just fantastic. Peter Wright just seems to be able to flick a switch, turn it on, and become the best player in the world whenever he fancies it. And I'm pretty sure he's one of the only players that the two-pace Dimitri won't affect. I don't think Dimmy can slow Peter Wright down. I don't think he can speed him up. And I think that makes this brilliant. The fact they're just going to have to beat each other on the dartboard makes this one. I'm just so looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's the well, being honest, this game in particular was the reason for my last minute decision to go to Blackpool tomorrow. Like, if the semi-final lineup had been different, I probably would have not travelled and given the ticket to us. But without a doubt, I don't want to miss that one. It's a big match. You're going to press me for a prediction, aren't you?
Yeah, that is the point of this section. We can sit and chat about our name, but I need a number from you at some point.
Yeah. It's going to be Peter Wright. I'm pretty sure of that. And I have a feeling it's going to be Peter Wright by a bit of a lump. 16-10.
Interesting. I'm going to read some chat room predictions out before I lose them. Just gives me a little bit more thinking time as well. Jamie's got 16-9 to Dimmy. Tommy's got 16-13. Right. Mr. David P says fence. You can't sit on the fence. That's not how this show works. Tell us who you think is going to win. Adam has got Vandenberg 16-13. Jim's got 16-11. To Wright. Jeez has got Wright 16-14. Master versus student should be very interesting. I think both averages above 97. Yeah, I'm even with that distance, I think both players are going to play exceptionally well. Daniel says if Wright gets a lead, I think he holds it. I don't disagree with that either. Rose, interestingly, talking about Wright shouldn't change his darts. He was almost fatal in the last round. Yeah, I agree. I don't think this barrel shape is optimum, but he's playing well with them, and I don't want him to start tinkering now. Nico's got Wright 16-13. Malachi's got Dimitri 16-12. What else do we have? Blaine says Dimitri's only missed one checkout under 100 this whole tournament. That was the 92 earlier on in his round 2 match. And Aaron's got Wright 16-14.
Interesting. No, I don't think nobody's gone Wright as heavy as I have, which makes me feel like I'm either a fool or a maverick.
I'm going to go close. I had Wright 16-11 in my mind. And when you said heavy and then only gave him a 6-leg cushion, I was like, maybe it's not heavy.
It is heavy though, isn't it? And seeing as though I've gone heavier than everybody else, I'll say that that's heavy because no one else has come. Like everyone seems to think it's going to be closer than that, but yeah, I'm still quite comfortable 16-10, even after seeing everybody's everyone else's view.
Yeah, I've gone 16-11, but I think it's going in the same direction as you, Dan. Second quarterfinal of the night. Michael van Gerwen against Nathan Aspinall. This one is really intriguing, given the fact that Nathan is already all the way back from his wrist injury. Michael, I'm still not convinced he's 100%. I'm not convinced he thinks he's 100% either. And the added distance to this one makes this one interesting.
Yeah, see, I did 10-second personal one, but so he had, it was carpal tunnel, wasn't it? It was the problem he had in his wrist, which is boringly the tendon that runs through the middle there. So I had an issue for quite some time with the other. You got one tendon that runs through the middle. You got another tendon that runs on the back of your thumb, and I had a massive problem with that. I was back and forth to the hospital, loads of interventions and issues, injections, everything, and once that was done, it's so painful. It's just horrible having to deal with it every day. That for so long afterwards, you are just nervous picking things up. I remember going to pick the kids up, and every time just taking a second chance and taking just thinking, can I do this? Can I do this? Will it hurt? Will I re-injure myself? And there's again, like we said, there's 2 layers to recovery. There's physical recovery and the psychological recovery. And it is that worry of re-injuring, re-hurting, re-stressing something out. And it's how quickly you can get over that as well. I think you can still see in him physically as a person and in his game some nervousness and some not feeling completely comfortable.
Yeah.
I think that Nathan Aspinall wins that match tomorrow. And I did pick Van Gerwen to win pre-tournament. Pre-tournament, MVG was my pick. But that all was very much dependent on me seeing this confident, fully physical Michael van Gerwen that I thought we would potentially see. So far, I've not quite seen it yet.
I think what really happened there was Bars decided that it wasn't going to be him this time, but law of online darts means at least somebody has to back Van Gerwen to win something. And he got Penner on the side.
Yeah, quite right indeed. So I'm gonna go a bit closer, and I'm gonna go 16-13 Aspinall. But what I will say on my 16-13 is I think Aspinall leads for the majority of the game. I think certainly after the second break, Aspinall's a break up, and I think Van Gerwen's chasing. That is my prediction. 16-13 with Van Gerwen chasing.
I want to touch on the confidence aspect as well. Nathan Aspinall also had a wrist injury. I'm not sure which part it was, but after seeing a specialist, he was told that whatever he does, the bit that he has an injury with and he was concerned about will not snap. It will not do any further damage. It's physically impossible for him to exert enough force, throw in a dart or whatever else to do more damage. And the relief, the weight it's lifted off Nathan Aspinall's shoulder for the last 3 to 5 months has been immeasurable. Look at the difference in performances and level and confidence in Nathan Aspinall right now since he's been given that piece of information. And I'm like you, I'm not. Van Gerwen was average against Adrian Lewis. He looked a lot better in the last round. He absolutely blew away whoever it was he played now. That's escaped me. Joe Cullen. He absolutely blew Joe Cullen away.
Physically comfortable though, did he?
No. I noticed on the walk on, it was left
Yeah.
hand and then left hand across, and just subtle things like that just make me think he's not quite 100% physically or ready for this game. And over the distance, over the pressure that I think Aspinall's going to put on him, I just think that Aspinall comes out on top as well. So I'm going to say 16-12 to Nathan Aspinall.
You think the pressure and the expectation it weighs in it as well? Do you think, like, at the minute where Aspinall's at in his game, where he's at in the rankings, where, you know, recovering from it, like, do you think he's feeling a huge amount of pressure going into that game? And I think MVG probably is, because he knows the eyes of the world are on him. You know, what's his condition? How is he playing? What's, you know, and he's going into a big tournament and he's expected to get to the final and you know, or go really deep. You know, I think it's a bit of a gimme or a bit of a freebie for Aspinall in that level of pressure isn't on him. He can just go and play his darts, can't he?
Yeah, and at the same time, you've got Van Gerwen still the bookie's favourite, or at least he was last time that the outrights were discussed when I was watching or had a peek at them, which I completely think they've got wrong. No matter what, that's just protecting against history, like we're seeing a lot with Phil Taylor recently as well on his return. And Nathan Aspinall just absolutely revels in being the underdog.
Yeah.
And he shouldn't be the underdog in this match right now because he is significantly further along in his recovery from a hand injury and he's arguably playing a lot better darts, but he's still going to enter that match tomorrow as an underdog. And if he's not, he's going to create that mentality, the way that he created that New England Patriot mentality that everybody hates us in the first round against Luke Humphries. Nobody gave me a chance. Everybody said I was going to get battered, blah, blah. I don't recall anybody saying Luke Humphries is going to absolutely batter Nathan Aspinall. I just recall a lot of people picking up Luke Humphries' chance at the title because he's won 4 Euro tours recently.
Yeah.
That wasn't a disrespect at Nathan Aspinall. It was just how well Luke Humphries is playing in comparison to everybody else in the world. And Nathan Aspinall created that siege mentality that everybody hates him. Nobody knew he was even playing. He proved
I don't think that's what we're going to get tomorrow. Because what you're going to get tomorrow is, you know, again, and there is a bit, you know, there's a bit of, you know, cultural. Yeah, yes, Michael Van Gerwen, commands the crowd. You know, we'll have an old Michael Van Gerwen for a decent chunk of the night tomorrow.
Not in Blackpool. They hate him.
But what you've got tomorrow night is a Northern Englishman in Blackpool against Michael Van Gerwen. And I think you might see a big crowd. So, and again, we talked earlier about the three things in the 3 elements of the crowd against Gezi Price tonight. First of all, he is Gezi Price. Second of all, like, Chisnall is the underdog. And third of all, Englishman against a Welshman. You hit 2 of those things in the match tomorrow. You've got an Englishman against a Dutchman, and they'll get behind the Englishman. He's from the north. The game is in Blackpool, and he's the underdog as well. So, you know, if he gets 2-3 games ahead, the crowd's going to be absolutely up in the air.
And we saw him whipping the crowd up against James Wade.
He loves it.
He's going to do the same again tomorrow. Mr. Brightside gets people going, whether you like it or not, whether it's your most hated song in the world, whether it's your favourite song in the world. He's going to go on first. He's going to whip the crowd up. He's going to absolutely love it. MVG will get booed in some sort. The Blackpool crowd have never really taken to Michael Van Gerwen ever since, I think, Phil Taylor beat him in that final. They've just never come back to being on Van Gerwen's side. It's just become the thing to do to boo him there. I'm not sure I really understand it, but it's just one of those things that happens.
Well, he will ask for it from the crowd. He will look at the crowd and he will want it and he will ask for it. And so Rosa just made the exact point that I was about to make as well. 100% right. Like the crowd, that won't put off MVG. MVG will not be put off his game by the fact he's getting booed or people are singing Nathan Aspinall songs. But Nathan Aspinall will take a massive lift by it. Like we've seen that. We saw that in the Premier League when he played in the Premier League. We've seen it. Like Nathan Aspinall plays with the crowd behind him, and whether that, you know, we're not saying it's going to put off MVG, but that could really give Nathan that kick that he needs just to lift his game tomorrow.
Could indeed. Right, let's go through everybody else's predictions before we wrap up the show. G's has it's got to be MVG 16-12. Mr. David 180 has also got MVG by 4 legs, so that'll be 16-12 as well. Colin George 16-10 to the Asp. Adam Hinchliffe followed with 16-10 Aspinall. Asp 16-7, says Jim. That's a big one. That's the biggest margin we've seen from any prediction so far this evening. Nico's got 16-11 Van Gerwen. Jamie's got MVG blows Asp away 16-8, I think. Asp was one of the few people that actually still over respects MVG. That's interesting. 16-11 for Maliki. 16-10 Aspinall for Tommy. What do we have here? 16-12 for Asp, says Jack 2022. 16-8 MVG, says Luke. Interesting on that one, and that is the last prediction in the chat room. Superb. Thanks for joining me this evening, Dan. A few reminders to everybody. Big thank you to everybody in the chat room for getting involved. You guys have been absolutely awesome once again. If you do fancy heading to Blackpool tomorrow, one last little shout out for our friend Danny. Hit him up on Twitter.
On Twitter at Dan Simpson 180. If you want to watch Matchplay Darts with me tomorrow, we have a seat available sat next to me. So if you want to watch and come along and enjoy tomorrow's 2 matches, feel free to get in touch on Twitter with me and come along and sit next to me and watch the games.
Indeed, and the balcony is just special in Blackpool as well. Reminder, the live league is back tomorrow morning from 9:30 on this channel. There's also an evening session from 10 p.m. tomorrow night. You will have to make a decision which one of us to watch at that point, but I'm sure you'll come and see me and Cam, I think, at the moment, but that's potentially changing.
Well, don't forget that you can record the other darts, can't you? Through most television platforms, you'll be able to record that and watch it at your leisure, as I do regularly.
Exactly. Anything else? And if you do want to catch all the interviews in full tonight, head over to our YouTube channel where they are there waiting for you. Phil's been at every single winners post-match press conference throughout the week. Dan, absolute star. Thank you for joining me this evening and chatting. You guys have been superb once again. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow night.